Hello, hello. What we're going to think about today is you as a single woman, me as a single woman, and having affairs with married men. You notice I'm talking about women here. I'm not really talking about men because you don't often hear about men having affairs with married women. Not that it doesn't happen, but it does seem to be a prevalence of it single women having affairs with married men. And one thing to notice about married men is that they're much more confident. It's a bit like having a job. You know, when you have a job and you're going for interviews, you feel much more confident than when you're unemployed. Really, you've got nothing to lose. You already have a job, so you're going to a job and you feel a lot more confident. But when you're unemployed, it's like it's everything, isn't it? And if I don't get this job, it's terrible. So there's more at stake. Right. And this is the same with married men because they already have a wife. Right. And so they can flirt about and they've got nothing actually to lose. They have nothing to lose. They already have somebody who has made a commitment, whether it's marriage or through living together. So on a confidence level, they are up there. Right. It's not like a single man who's struggling to find a date, and he starts to lose his confidence. The married man is confident. He has a woman, and therefore he can go out and look for extra. Right. And it's so often middle-aged men. What is it with these middle-aged men? I think so many men are, when they get to a certain age, get very muddled. They get very, very muddled. They like the comfort of home and home comforts, the wife and the family and the dog and the lawn. They like it. They like the home comforts, But they also want a bit of excitement. And they want the excitement with no strings. They don't want to be napped. They don't want responsibility. They have the responsibilities at home with the wife and the children and the mortgage and this problem and that problem. And what married men are looking for is a bit of playtime. It's like a bit of fun, a bit of relief from the stress of work and, demands of, there's this problem and that problem with the children and this letter's in the post and this has got to be dealt with and have we got enough money for this, and there's always responsibility at home, isn't there? The married man, there's always something, and he's wanting a bit of playtime, he's wanting a bit of me time. And this is where the single woman comes in, because she's desperate invariably. Now, you do get scenarios where you've got the married man having an affair with another married woman, right? And this can work, but it invariably works because there's an understanding, right? The understanding is we're both married. What are we both looking for? A bit of extra nookie. We are compatible in the bedroom. We enjoy it. It's time out. It's relief from the stress of home life and a job and every responsibility. It's a little bit of playtime. And that can work for some people. And it does work for some marrieds, that they're meeting up. And there is no emotional needs. This is not about an emotional need. They're not looking for emotional fulfillment. This is a little bit of playtime and enjoyment. That's all it is. And that can work and does work for many people. The problems begin where it's not just playtime, where the emotions come in. And this invariably will happen more so with the single young woman. There are single women that are very together. They're not emotionally needy. They're not particularly emotional. They are just, it's a very practical arrangement. They're quite happy with it, meeting up as and when with a married man. And they like the sex. They're not looking for emotional involvement. It suits them. It suits them. They are invariably very emotionally together. They don't have needs, emotional needs. They're not great emotional people. It suits them. They're very cool. They're very together. And that can work for certain types of people. But probably for most women, it doesn't, having an affair with a married man. And the reason why it's so dissatisfying for the single woman is that the married man has really so little to offer you, right? What he has to offer is very limited. He's got very, very limited time. He invariably has a job. He's got responsibility. He's got a wife. He's got children. He's got other responsibilities. His time is very short. I mean, it's hard enough just dealing with home life, with his wife and the children, different things going on, and the pressures of work. And he takes on this mistress, this bit on the side, who he genuinely probably does like. He likes her. He likes you. There's no doubt he probably does genuinely like you. He has a fondness for you, but he can't offer you much. And really what he can offer you is basically sexual intimacy, which is very, very brief. So it's either in your place or a hotel or somewhere, sneaking off somewhere, you know. And at first it can be quite nice because it's mischief. And at first it's like being naughty and not being called. It's like playing truant off school, and it's all nice at first. And the problem is when the emotions come into play for you, when you start developing feelings for this man. And what you'll find you wanting is what his wife has. You actually want the ordinariness of the everyday living with a man. The everyday and the mundane. In other words, this is a man, a married man you're getting fond of, and you want to be with him in the morning. You want to wake up and have him there. You want to be having breakfast with him. You want to be hanging out with him. You would like him around. You just want all that everyday intimacy of the mundane and the ordinary of that the wife has, and you can't have that. And this is what is so invariably distressing for the single woman when she has an affair with a married man, is the sex is not sufficient. In fact, it whets up the appetite. It almost, it's the juices are on every level. Everything is sort of becomes more bonded with this man and wanting more of him. And so you become jealous of the mundane and ordinary that the wife shares with this man. You're jealous that he's having his evening meal in front of the telly with his wife while she does the ironing. You want to be that wife doing his ironing as he has his tea, but you can't, because that's not the deal. The deal is just a limited time, as and when he can, when that phone rings, and it's all rushed. And what kind of things does a man tell you? Well, even the nicest man, even the most honest of married men, finds himself lying. He doesn't want to lie. It's not that he's wanting to be deceitful to you. You have to understand this. A lot of these men, they don't want to hurt you, and they don't want to hurt you. They like you. They do like you. And in their own way, they could be quite fond of you and have a little bit of an affection for you. They don't want to hurt you, and so because they don't want to hurt you, they're not going to answer your questions truthfully. And the reason being, no matter how much you nag them, please tell me the truth. I just want to know the truth. I don't mind what you say, just tell me the truth. They're not going to tell you the truth because by and large, these men are nice men. They don't want to hurt you. They don't want to distress you. They don't want to upset you. They don't want to tell you that they have sexual intimacy with their wives. They're married or they're living with the lady, right? And they have a routine. They might have sex once a week. They might have it twice a week. Now, he does not want his wife or partners to find out about you, right? So he has to play the game of having sex with his partner when it usually takes place. So if they're generally having sex like on a Saturday night, or they perhaps have sex, perhaps on a Sunday afternoon, or when the children are all out, it's a sort of routine. If the children are out, it's kind of understood. We'll have sexual intimacy. He's not going to tell you that. He's going to deny it. And you will never get the truth from a married man. He is not going to tell you, actually, I am having sexual relations with my wife or partner. He might tell you things like, we sleep in separate bedrooms, or we live separate lives. Again, that is not invariably not true. That is not true. And if a man really is wanting to lead such a separate life, he would surely move out. I mean, if you want to lead a separate life from your parents, if you want to lead a separate life from your flatmates, what happens is you move away from them, don't you? And you get your own place. But the thing is with married men is they do like the comforts. They do like the home life, although it irritates them. There are many things about married life and home life that irritate married men. But they're in conflict. They get irritated by being nagged. But at the same time, it's kind of comforting. Because it's what they're used to. And the dog. And the garden. And it's irritating to be keep reminded, have you done this? Have you done that? You said you'd do this. It is irritating. But at the same time, it's familiar. And it's cosy. Can you understand that? And he's not going to leave it. No matter how much he says to you. And he says he's going to stay for the children. And there is some truth in that. But he doesn't want to. He wants his cake and he wants everything. He wants the comfort and the security of home life, of the children. And he kind of, although it irritates him, the arguments and the bickering that goes on with the children and everything, and all the irritations of family life, although it's irritating for him, it's comforting. It's comforting. It's a bit like having a budgie that gets on your nerves sometimes because it keeps crying out and making noises and things. But if that budgie was not there, you'd miss it like hell. And this is how it is for married men. And there is a comfort in the familiar. And men, especially men when they get to a certain age, middle age, they love the comforts, the home comfort. They like that remote and the comfort of home life and the familiar ways. And the wife who does actually know him, and she does understand him. There might be certain things she doesn't understand, or she perhaps is not paying attention to as much, but she does understand him more than perhaps he realises. What tends to happen in some marriages is a bit of neglect. Things are neglected because everything is so familiar. You see, what you have when you're dating and when you first get to know somebody is more self-disclosure because you're new to each other. So you do tend to disclose things. But as you get used to somebody, there is less self-disclosure because you don't feel the need to keep doing it. And also the everyday and ordinary and the things that are going on can get in the way of this disclosure. And the responsibilities of home life, of the children and the sickness and problems and difficulties. And sometimes you have to, out of necessity, hide those personal problems from your partner because of what's going on in the home. You can't be unloading all your angst and problems and things that trouble you to your partner simply because your partner could be ill, or they're going through a tough time, or the mother's dying, or the children are very sick, or there's financial problems. And often partners don't want to burden each other. And to be honest, it's not always the right time. If your partner is grieving the loss of her father who is suffering cancer, can you unload and share her problems, your problems with her? You probably feel, well, it's not really appropriate. And so if you meet a single woman who's all sweetness and sympathy, you might well disclose it all to the single woman, because your wife, it's not that she's not available, it's all about appropriateness. If she's stressed out with worrying over her dying father with cancer, you as a husband or partner don't want to burden her with your problems, because you care about your wife. You do love her in a way. She might annoy you and irritate you, but you do care about her, and you think, I can't burden her. She's already stressed out worrying about her father, and I've got this problem. So he doesn't tell his wife. So there is you, single you, smiling, sympathetic. I will understand all your problems. And so he unloads to you. And so he feels like you do understand. And of course you do understand the problem. But his wife, while she might want to be there for him, cannot always be there for him, because this is life. This is life, and you find this with friendships. How many times you have a problem with and you can't tell your best friend because your best friend is going through agony and angst of their own, and you say to yourself, this is not the right time. I remember my best friend, she was going through a terrible time with cancer and all additional problems, and I couldn't talk to her about my own problems like I would normally, because I thought, well, she's got enough on her plate. She's got cancer, and she's got all this horrible, unpleasant therapy, and she's suffering, and she's distressed, and you ring her, and she's upset and crying with a cancer, and you can't confide in her a problem that like you would normally. So you have to hold back, and you can't tell her, and so you can't be as intimate with your best friend because she's going through, and so you have to be strong and not disclose your personal problem. How many times has that happened with you? Because you say to yourself, I've got to learn to consider my best friend. She's not in the place for me burdening her with my tittle tattle of problems when she's dealing with cancer, or when her father has just died, or she's just been made redundant. And this is where things get so difficult. And when a man says he will leave his wife at the right time, it's not the right time. When is the right time? When is the right time? There is never a good time to say to a wife, I've met somebody. When is a good time to tell a woman that? There is never a good time to tell your wife that you are having a bit on the side. And think about it. When is there a good time to tell your wife that you've met somebody? It's too traumatic. And does a married man, really want to break up the family home? Does he want to cause distress to the children? Does he want to upset even his adult children? Because even an 18 or 20-year-old is going to be very upset. You cannot say to yourself as a single woman, or when the children are old enough, he'll be able to tell his wife. No, it doesn't work like that. Because, young people at university are traumatised and upset when they find the parents are divorcing, or the parents are having problems in the marriage. There is no good time to say to a wife, I've actually been having an affair with somebody. And it's such a big thing to pack up and leave, And does this married man really want to do this? Does any married man really want to do this? Well, to be honest, the answer is no. And it's not because he doesn't love you. It's not because he doesn't care about you. It's not because he doesn't value you. It's not because he doesn't respect you. He does respect you. He's fond of you. He cares about you. But you can't do it. And it's not going to happen. It will not happen. It is very, 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 very rare for a man to pack his bags and to leave the family home and to move in with you. And when it does happen, how long does it last? Well, it frequently happens that the man starts to miss family life. He suddenly realizes he feels older because you are undoubtedly younger than he is. And he suddenly misses the familiarity of family life. He misses his wife with the cellulite. He misses his wrinkled wife. He misses his wife who understands all his aches and pains, and that he's not as young as he used to be, and he can't do this, and he can't do that, and he needs an early night. And he just wants to sit in front of the television with his remote, and he just wants to be left alone, and he wants the dog, and he wants everything back again to how it was. And how many men leave these women and go back to the family home because they want that? They want all the home comforts, the familiarity back again, because this is an older man now. And it's hard enough to give up family life when you're a young man, but when you're an older man, you know, you're getting a bit set, and it's familiar. And does he want to be having sex every night with you? Probably not. You will find he's too tired. He's too tired. Remember, there's one thing just meeting ad hoc and having sex, but now he's living with you, now he's around, you're going to find that this man is not so up for it as he was before, because he hasn't got the energy. This is an older man. This is a tired man. This is a man who probably when he comes home just wants his tea and to be, don't nag me. Can't we have an early night? No, actually, no. No, I just, don't bother me. And this is the reality. This is the reality. And that married man will always give priority to that which is most important to him. And that which is most important to him, however much he complains about his wife and things, will be his wife. Will be his wife. Because love is a funny thing. Because even things that irritate you and annoy you and get on your nerves, there can be a strange fondness of married life, even though, and of the wife, because she knows him. She knows all his funny ways. She knows him inside out. She knows all his habits. She knows everything, and she puts up with it for years and years and years. She's put up with all his funny ways and his irritations and his habits and everything, and she knows him. Now, admittedly, there are certain things going on that she might not be aware of because he hasn't told her. But by and large, she's got a good idea of what makes him tick. And a man has to be greatly, greatly dissatisfied to a very, very large degree in order to give up that partnership, that marriage. There are not many men who, when it comes to it, will give it up, because they're having to weigh up, like we all do, like having a job, certain things you don't like about it, and then you have to weigh up, do I really want to give up this job? You start weighing up the pros and cons. Yes, this I don't like. This irritates me. There again. Does this in its favour? Does that in its favour? And what will happen with these married men is that even though they're fond of you, they like you, they respect you, they do care about you, there is a genuine affection for you. They don't start saying that you don't care about me because you won't leave my wife. That's not it. They do care about you. But when it comes down to it, their priorities will be their wife and the family and the children. There's no doubt about that. And you have to understand the pecking order. You are last. You are last. And it's a very hard thing to accept. And if you don't want to be last, then you have to walk away and find yourself somebody who can give and meet your needs. Because if you need somebody for whom you are first place, you are the priority, you are the number one before all else, then the only way is to find a man who is single. And at the moment, yes, you do love this married man. You love him madly, truly, deeply. And it's terribly painful. And but it is possible to actually do the action. It is possible to walk away, but there is going to be so much heartache and tears, and it's not going to be easy. It will not be easy. It will not be easy. And there's no point rushing out there and trying to replace him with another man. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. It's like the rebound, because it isn't fair on somebody else to do that. What you have to do from a practical level is just to socialise and to be going out with the girls again and not looking to madly, frantically replace this man, because you can't replace him because he's unique. But what you can do is just start the process of mingling. And none of these men are going to be attractive to you, because you're going to be comparing them with this fantastic married man who you're still madly, truly and deeply in love with. And only time is going to ease it. And it could take a very, very long time. And there is, we can't say it's going to be 3 months. We can't say it's going to be 6 months. Nobody can give a time on recovery when you have felt so deeply and invested so much in somebody. It is no different than a broken engagement. I mean, you would not expect that if a woman who is engaged to a man and the man broke it off, you would not expect a woman to suddenly replace him within a matter of weeks or a month. And some women do, but it's more usual whereby you have to hang in there, and it is very, very hard. But heartache can ease, and it's like grief, really, because when you're in the midst of acute grief, the pain is absolutely terrible. Anybody who's lost anything, an animal, a father, anybody, a friend, the pain is just unbearable. But it does ease, and it slightly changes. I mean, I remember when my guinea pig died, and each time I went past the little tub where he is, I would start to fill up and cry. But now I go into the garden and I'm passing up and down past his little grave, and I don't cry. And I can stand in front of it and feel a bit sad, so I miss him. But I'm not emotional. It's just like, I miss him, and I just try not dwell on it too much. So there is a process, and if there's a process in ordinary grief, like grieving for a pet, or grieving for a broken engagement, or grieving for a parent, then there has to be, and there is a process over grieving over a married man. And perhaps it's something that's never talked about, that there is a process, just like for anything else, there is a process. And the expectation, and for anybody else to expect you to be suddenly over it, is ridiculous. Because nobody's going to expect you to be suddenly over it if your father dies, or suddenly to be over it if your faithful dog of 15 years suddenly dies. Oh, it's just ridiculous. It's going to take time. And you're having to look at ways of making the transition easier, and you are going to be suffering the pain, but the pain does get easier, and you have to sort of hang in there. The intense pain, the unbearable pain will ease. It always eases. Unbearable pain always does ease, because that's how life is. Grief does have a process. It's natural. It's almost like the human soul cannot bear intensity of grief for too long. It's the human whatever is not made to be suffering intense grief at a high level for years and years and years. In other words, the moment of intense grief when you lose a parent cannot be with you at that intensity for years and years at end. That is very abnormal, and really moves into the psychiatric department. You see, if it does get into a problem like that, then you are moving into a form of mental illness which does need treatment. So if your pain and grief is getting so unbearable, then maybe a visit to the doctor is called for. Because if it's becoming so bad, and the intensity is, and it's going on for months and months, then maybe you are needing to see somebody to work through it, literally to work through it, because it's becoming unhealthy. Because healthy grief kind of works through processes, and it's sort of slightly gets a bit easier, but it's still very hard, it's still painful. But if that intense pain is never easing slightly, then it's moving into the unhealthy. But you can work through that, and it can be eased. And it's about standing firm. It's about standing firm, and doing those things that you know are going to help you. You know yourself those things, those triggers that are going to make this attachment worse or inflame it. And so you have to take responsibility and say, I'm going to remove this man's number from my phone. I'm going to remove all his photographs. I'm going to throw away all his letters. You're going to do everything to make it easier for yourself. And it might not seem to help at the time even, but you must do it. And it is important that you maintain it and stick with it. And then there will come a time, maybe, that you will look back on this married man, as I have done in the past, and thinking, what did I see in him? What did I see in him? I don't even think he's my type anyway. I don't want to go out with him now. Oh, no. Or, no, he's not for me. No, I don't think I'd be interested. Or what was it about him? There's nothing about what possessed me to be so mad about this guy? What was it that I saw in him? And you're suddenly thinking, this is crazy. What was the matter with me? What was the matter with me? And you often hear this with married men when they have affairs. Afterwards, it's like something has gripped them and possessed them. And I think Oscar Wilde talked about this in one of his films, that it's almost like they become possessed and obsessed with a woman. And they become mad for so long. And they become tormented and obsessed with this woman outside the marriage. And they think they can't live without her. And all they do is dream and think about her. And they're obsessed with her. And then suddenly the obsession leaves them. And they're back and they're thinking, what was all that about? Why was I so obsessed with this woman? It's like a form of insanity has gripped this married man. And Oscar Wilde saw it as a form of madness that grips these married men of a certain age. And they suddenly get infatuated and possessed and stricken with infatuation over this woman, and they're going to the psychiatrist saying, I can't get this woman out of my mind, doctor. What am I going to do? What is the matter with me that I can't get this woman out of my system? And in this film by Oscar Wilde, the story goes that the psychiatrist himself one day becomes infatuated with one of his female patients. And he, the psychiatrist, is married, and he becomes infatuated with this female patient. And he says, what is the matter with me? I am now possessed with this infatuation, like all my patients. And he can't stop thinking about this married woman patient, this other married woman. And he becomes demented and possessed, and he wants this woman. But then he's got the fever. And he's thinking, what am I going to do? What is the matter? I thought I was immune to this. I'm a psychiatrist, but I'm not immune to this. I'm a married man, and I'm now possessed, obsessed about this woman. What is the matter with me? But this seems to be a common thing, this obsessing over somebody, that many married men of a certain age seem to get. And it's like they're hankering for their youth. And it's like they want to be 20 again. They want to be the 20 again. And they're looking at that 25-year-old. And they want to be back. And they want to feel like they were when they were in their youth. But they're not. They're 50. And they're hankering and wanting to be 20 again. And they're wanting that 20-year-old again. They're wanting to be 20 again. And they're wanting that 21-year-old again. And they're trying to think themselves back into how they were when they were 20. And they're trying to behave and get into the mindset of 20 again. But they're not, they're 50. And it gets all ludicrous. Because they can't keep up with this 21-year-old woman. And you know why? Because they're 50. They're tired. They're aging. They're worn out. They want the home comforts. And this single young woman of 20 is so demanding. She's sexually demanding. She's so emotionally demanding. And the wife, for all her faults, she did understand. And at least I could go to bed and sleep when I needed to. And isn't it hard, the aging process? And the married man is craving to be 20 again. He wants the youth again. But he's old, he's getting older and older. But he's hankering after all the things of his youth, including the young woman. But the young woman cannot meet his needs because he's an older man. It's starting to irritate her, this older man. He's getting so crotchety and so irritable. Because she's getting to know him now. And she's getting irritated because he's suddenly not seeming as young as he was. she's suddenly noticing he's older, and it's suddenly perhaps not so attractive. But you see, his wife is used to him. She's grown older with him. She accepts him as he is. For all his faults and irritations, his wife knows him. And so the single young hot chick cannot compete, really, when it comes down to it, with the dowdy, middle-aged, cellulite, fat, overweight, postmenopausal woman. Because at the end of the day, that's what the middle-aged man is comfortable with. And it's home. It's home. The cellulite. The little bit of being overweight, the nagging is home. It's home. And there's no place like home. And there's no place like home comforts. And a man likes his home comforts. And much as he likes you, single woman, much as he values you, much as he, is fond of you, he's going to choose his home comforts, which will include his wife or his partner.